In this video, I want to talk a little bit about making your own knitting needles. Just if you want to, whether or not you feel the need to try and use American products. I want to show you these. These are Susan Bates Extreme, size 70. They're huge. They're beautiful though. They're huge. These happen to be made in India. And I feel I could use these, even though they're not American. Made in India. Distributed by Coats & Clark, Greenville, South Carolina. They are beautiful. I don't know what kind of wood they are. But the reason I'm showing you these is these were mailed to me in a Tyvek type envelope. And they got jostled in the envelope, and when they got here, this was already off. And that's what you're going to find out with these extreme size needles, that whatever glue they use, obviously that got bounced off. So I haven't even opened this package because now I don't know if I'll be able to use them and glue them. But it brought up the fact that I'm making my own needles, and I also was running into a problem with glue. These are my size 70s that I made out of an old shovel handle that was my father's garden shovel. And you can see I've got the same kind of wooden peg at the bottom with aquarium tubing. And I used wood glue at first, but the tubing rejected the wood glue. Right now I've got Elmer's, regular old Elmer's on there, and they're holding. And they look great, don't they? The problem is when you're actually knitting something, and this is kind of a bed pad thing I'm doing, and you're using a circular needle, there is stress put on that join. Both when, this is really the whole thing about knitting, is how smoothly do the stitches move up so that they can be knit off. This is a little bit easier, your working side, because they slide down. But at the same time, when you go to push, I have 33 stitches on here, so when you go to push this down, you're putting strain on the tubing, and that's when the join will come out. So I just want to show you, these are size 19s that I carved out of my tree, and they are exactly like this bottom. Only now you see something on there that's covering that. This is hardware store cheap aluminum wire, a pair of wire cutters and a pair of pliers, and I'm making my own little O-ring that you can see right there. And this is how I did the size 19s. I cut an O-ring and bent, I will, on this one, you bend it around the peg, and you have to make sure you get the plastic tubing pushed all the way down, and that the ring is further toward the tube than the wood. In other words, get all of the plastic held securely in there. Put the ring on there, tighten it and flatten it as much as you can. And then I've used Sculpey clay to, like these chips are Sculpey clay. And I could form them, take them off the needle, bake them separately, and then glue them back on. And they're staying and they're fine. But I didn't want to try to bake these size 19s and the tubing with Sculpey on here. So what this is, and there you can see the metal ring showing, this is candle wax. And what I was going to carve it down to match the tubing a little bit more anyway, but I wanted to cover that whole O-ring so that there were less snags. So I took, you can also use in penmanship stores and stationery stores, they sell old-fashioned sealing wax that you can seal a letter with. And in fact, this is crayon wax from my crayons, but I actually use it as a sealing wax crayon. So I lit the wick of it and then just dripped it around there. Now this is not going to come off. So I've got the metal O-ring, and then and I'll just rub this down and get it smooth, maybe add some more wax. It's an alternative to trying to bake the tubing at 275 and hope you don't start a fire in your oven. And then if you leave this like in the refrigerator, this will all harden and make it a little bit easier to polish and make it smooth. So whether it's your own needles or whether these were on sale, they were only $12, which is a wonderful price for the, look at the size of them. But this makes them not usable. If that's going to come off, they're not usable. I had started this project on these needles, and the tubing had come off twice, and I was like, I can't even use them because you don't want to drop stitches. So there is a way to secure that tubing. I've already knit one round on this, and the stitches do move up on the needle without hitting that O-ring. I could even fill it in more with wax and get it to the same exact thickness, if I wanted to, of the tubing. So there is a way to make your own needles and make them more usable, similar to commercial needles.